Why don't children work anymore?
So we just want to do child labor again? Normal country.
Like, it just seems that everyone is so entitled to everything.
Wow. Why don't children work anymore? That's presumably Candace Owens's answer to the problem that workers face today. It's not that corporations and the ruling class are hoarding all of the resources, not sharing their record profits with the labor force that generate said profits. That's not the problem. No. It's the problem is that kids are going to school and not working in sweatshops anymore. Who is that messaging most beneficial to? Obviously not the kids who are going to be made into workers in the system. Definitely not parents who want their kids to flourish, be educated, be kids. Who benefits from this type of rhetoric? Let me see. The people who would benefit from having child workers in the labor force, therefore, decreasing labor power and making people have to work for cheaper. Just think about that.
Now, I know you're interested thinking of Candace because, I don't know, it's a form of slavery to have children work. Children should just be able to enjoy their childhood. But there is something about working that establishes a better human being. We are not creating better human beings anymore or quality human beings anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Again, in this logic that there's quote unquote virtue in work, that you're made a good person by working your tail off, by working until you have no energy to do anything else, like spending time with your family, like bettering yourself, like working on yourself. The idea that you would work so much that you don't have anything else, and that's virtuous. That somehow makes you a better person. Who does that benefit? The people who's obviously profiting off of your toil. This is so obvious, this rhetoric and propaganda. Who it's going to benefit. It's not going to benefit you, person who works tirelessly. This idea that somehow you're made into a more whole human being by working your tail off is ridiculous. I would encourage people to view work for what it is. It's an exchange for goods, services for goods. I get this money from my work so I could do stuff with my family, better my life. It's not making me a better person to work. That's absurd. That's propaganda.
Just seems that everyone is so entitled to everything. I shared with you many episodes ago the story about the assistant that I had, 22 years old is how old he was, asking to make $135,000 a year after a month of work. Why? Because he's entitled. Because he doesn't even actually know what real work is. You have children that grow up to become the adults like they're facing right now at Goldman Sachs that say, we're being abused. Yes, we make, I don't know, almost $100,000 a year but we're working long hours and we shouldn't have to work long hours.
And we have to remember what the point of this type of rhetoric is. It's, this idea that you would think of yourself as more virtuous because you're working the hardest. That's meant for one thing. That's to sow division amongst the working ranks so that you could look at your fellow worker and say, is he working hard enough? Is he a good enough person as me? Instead of just saying, yo, am I getting paid enough for this? Are we being treated well enough for the amount of work that we put in by the powers that be? Do I earn enough? Am I getting enough out of this? They making your eyes go askance. They don't want you to look at the top. They want you to look next to you and below you and to judge their work, not to judge the fruits of your work. Because once people start doing that, they start training their eyes on the right people. And we know who that is. All of this rhetoric, I don't need to get into Candace Owens and her personal, virtue or whatever. Is she a good or bad person? We know where her bread is buttered. Her corporate sugar daddies, right? She's just a sugar baby of that class of people, and she's doing their bidding to sow dissent amongst normal working people to be basically resentful of fellow working people. That's all this is. And we're not going to fall for it because it's obvious.